Hi, I'm Surreal.
I'm Mofo.
And we're JaGoFF.
We're musicians, activists, independent artist advocates.
Welcome to the BitTorrent edition of the Chicago Promoters Ordinance Kills Independent Music. The documentary that you're about to see was recorded in 2008 and basically just documents our battle in the streets with the city of Chicago against this proposed law. Being an independent artist, we're faced with obstacles at every turn, whether it be the vilification of file sharing, whether they be fair use issues, or even if it's just trying to make a living.
People need to be aware of these issues. You need to be aware not only of the resources available to you, but also, more importantly, your rights. And if we're not vigilant about this and we don't pay attention, you know, it might take you by surprise like it almost did with us. In fact, some other cities have adopted similar laws to what was proposed here in Chicago. Fortunately, since we filmed this documentary, we were able to stop this thing. But we're still working against it, making sure they're not going to take it off the top shelf and dust it off and introduce it again when we're not paying attention. Not only here in Chicago with us, but in your own hometown. Because if you don't pay attention, it's coming to a town near you.
Since the filming of this documentary, the landscape has changed a bit. We've got a mayor who fortunately has voiced his support for the creative community. However, we just want to remain proactive so that these issues just don't creep up on us again. So how did we get here? Well, first of all, we opened our mouths and we hit the streets. There's absolutely nothing more effective than your voice. And we hit record on this $99 camera.
And we took to the streets with a pile of flyers and a roll of tape, and we talked to people. You know, the point is you just have to get your ass up and get out there and do it.
If you dig what we're doing, there's all kinds of levels at which you could support. You could support by just helping to spread the word. You could support by going to our website and buying a t-shirt. You could support one of the projects that we're doing online through Kickstarter or GoFundMe. We also have our new album called It Takes a Major Label to Hold Us Back, appropriately titled. It's pay what you want. If you want to pay a buck, pay a buck. If you want to pay 10 bucks, pay 10 bucks. You got $100 you want to help out? Absolutely terrific. If you don't have any money and you just want to spread the word, download your brains out and give it to everyone you know.
And we won't sue you.
We will not sue you. Just know that your money's going to be well spent at doing stuff like this.
All we basically ask of you is to download it and share that living crap out.
Word.
Support independent music or be force-fed crap. Go to thejagoff.com now.
Download it, burn it, share it. My name's Surreal. I'm a visual multimedia artist. I'm also a musician, one half of JaGoFF, an artist advocate. We run the site, therecordindustry.com, which is now going into its second decade.
I'm Mofo, aka Trench Digger. I'm the other half of JaGoFF. I'm also a musician, video artist, independent artist, advocate, activist. We were introduced to our friend Hank Parrott almost 2 years ago to take part in a study on the effects of globalization on artists in the city of Chicago. Basically what we were discussing were ways to try to keep our talent in the city from moving off to other cities that were more welcoming to their artists. Now, ironically enough, the whole time that this is going on and that we're talking to Hank about this, we learn about the promoters ordinance that the city is trying to pass.
Basically, what the city of Chicago wants is all promoters in the city to be licensed. It would cost you between $500 and $2,000 for this privilege. It's discretionary as to whether you get it or not, so you have to submit the fingerprinting and a background check. Once you jump through those hurdles, you have to carry $300,000 worth of insurance and notify the chief of police 7 days prior to having your event.
The city of Chicago should be supporting and promoting its smaller venues and lesser-known artists, instead of trying to pass laws that would hinder artists' ability to contribute to the culture of this great city.
I just think that it's a big bunch of bullshit because, you know, it's a more government regulation of fun. Like, why are you always trying to regulate my fun? You know, like, it's not as if passing out flyers or telling people about an event is going to lead to the downfall of society. What the fuck do you need to step into it and get and regulate it for? You know? It's like, if you got to get like a, whatever it is, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 insurance policy and deal with all that other shit, like, man, it cuts out the drive of kids. And you got to like really try to encourage kids to be proactive. And this is some like, you know, chops them right off at the knees. No, sir. Beat it. Kills Andy music. Kills Andy music. Now I gotta pee.
Why the Chicago's Event Promoters Ordinance should be rejected. The proposed ordinance does not address any public need, often justified as a response to the February 17, 2003 stampede in the E2 nightclub, which killed 21 people. The proposed ordinance does not address the problems that led to that tragedy. Too many people, 1,100, were in a venue that could safely accommodate only 300. The city had not acted on known building and fire code violations, and the venue security staff did not respond appropriately.
We want to move forward in this town and make it a world-class city. You need to put a stop to this fucking bullshit right here. It's killing us. It's killing us. It'll kill us, kill me, and you'll run all of the talent up out this motherfucker, okay? You don't want to do that daily, so yeah, kiss my ass on that. My love.
I'm a TV producer, theater producer, musician, promoter, everything here in Chicago. The only way for Chicago to move forward is to open up the venues and open up the opportunities for people to come here from all over the world to see that this is a world-class city and to promote their work here and to be able to perform their work here. But as long as you put everything in the hands of 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 companies, you're closing off the world. This is going to be a backwater town. New York City already makes Chicago look like Milwaukee. And if it's going to be any better than, you know, Second City is a fucking far cry from the first city. And it's ridiculous. You got to open it up. The artists are what made this country. The artists would have allowed the politicians to be in check. The artists have always had the beat, the heartbeat, and the mind of the people, the spirit of the people, and the speech of the people. And that's what it's all about. Let the artists do their thing. Let them make their couple of bucks. They're not making billions of dollars. You want billions of dollars? Have your fucking Olympics. They're not going to be any independent musicians at the fucking Olympics. But meanwhile, people who are here at the Olympics want to see what Chicago's about. Let us do our shit.
Let's bump.
The proposed ordinance targets event promoters rather than venue owners, although circumstances leading to the E2 tragedy were within control of the venue manager and not third-party promoters. Venue owners, not third-party promoters, are in a position to control everything that might jeopardize the health or safety of fans.
My name's Jim DeRogatis. I'm the pop music critic at the Chicago Sun-Times, as well as a musician. I don't usually do interviews about that, about playing music. I kind of keep separation of church and state. You know, I mean, for all I know, Rick Tellender, Sun-Times ace sports columnist, he plays softball on Sundays, plays touch football maybe. He doesn't write about that. I don't write about playing music. But I've played music since I was 15. I've been in 25, 30 bands since I was 15. I'm 44 now. Played music my whole life. Some people go bowling. I play music. And it's fun. I think it makes me a better critic. It doesn't make me an easier critic. It makes me a harsher critic in some ways. If you don't have something to say with your music, what's the point of doing it? That's kind of my routine. But it's fun. I do it because I enjoy it, and it also gives me a side of the community that I don't know if I'd just see if I was only a writer. Chicago is the most vibrant music community in America. I've lived in and been a journalist in Minneapolis. I've lived in and was born and raised in Jersey City and Hoboken, just across the river from New York City. Played in bands in both of those other cities. Nothing in the world. I've toured the world. I've toured with bands. I've made records. I've toured the U.S. Did a 22-city tour when I was 22 years old. I've never seen any city, any community like Chicago. The fact, this is me in my journalist hat now, the fact that Chicago does not recognize what this city is, to me is unconscionable. And I mean, I can tell you about the music scene in Berlin, in Hamburg, in Vienna, in Bern, Switzerland, in Minneapolis, in Chicago, in Portland, and you name it, and nothing beats the sense of community in Chicago. We have some of the greatest independent labels in the world in Chicago. We have some of the best rock clubs in Chicago. We have some of the greatest record stores. And yet the city has had nothing short of a full-on war on the music community in this city for the entire time I've been here as a reporter. And I came in the early 90s, 91. Whether you want to talk about the destruction of Maxwell Street as a vital institution, as an institution that is as sacred and as historic as Beale Street in New Orleans, which is lauded and celebrated. 6th Street in Austin, Texas, which is lauded and celebrated. Maxwell Street in Chicago, it was torn down. It's gone. There's a 7-Eleven where these bands used to play. And I'm talking about Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. It's a tragedy, and now I think that in the wake of E2, and what happened there was a disaster, but a preventable disaster. There were 20 laws on the books that the fire department, the building department, and the police department could have enforced, but did not. And as a result, those people died. Same thing happened in Rhode Island. This is not endemic to live music or to dance music, and yet you have well-intentioned politicians seeking to shut down a vibrant community. My biggest problem is if a network news anchor went on TV and said, the Palestinians love the Israelis, he would be drummed out of the business. He does not know what he's talking about, okay? And yet, in the city of Chicago, you can assault culture and you can say, we have to make our clubs safe, they're not safe. And you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the difference between a show at the Double Door, where my band just played. Maybe it was a benefit. Maybe some musician broke his or her leg and he or she has no health insurance and 15 bands played tonight. Well, the promoter's ordinance that's proposed, that this film is about, would make that illegal, to hold a benefit for those people. Maybe it's a big dance party celebrating the house music legacy of this city. Maybe it's a Latin music concert celebrating someone who's never performed here from South America, who's coming here. You know, in the wake of E2, the city cultural department flew up some Brazilian musicians who were playing at Martyrs, and the city building department, fire department, police department shut the show down. So you have this incredible cultural scene, and you have people who are trying to make the world aware of it, and then you have municipal government, which seems dedicated to stamping it out, unless it's huge and brought to you by a corporation, like Lollapalooza in Grant Park, or like the city-sanctioned Blues Fest. And I mean, Blues Fest is what Blues Fest is, but Maxwell Street is what the blues really is, and it's gone. And it's a tragedy. I just think that elected officials have a hell of a nerve to be trying to legislate something they have no understanding about whatsoever. And I mean, until the city council and the business affairs department comes here and comes with me to a benefit at Reggie's, to a Latin show at the Aragon, to a house party somewhere, to a VFW show somewhere, they have no right to legislate it. They just don't. They don't know what they're talking about. I didn't leave you any questions.
And that's fine.
All right.
When this ordinance resurfaced, unfortunately it left out this huge swath of independent artists. And so out of sheer frustration, we decided to take a proactive approach and just start hitting the city streets. And we hit up all the festivals. We hit up your Lollapaloozas and your Pitchforks and your Blues Fests and your Tastes of Chicago and all the neighborhood festivals. The response that we got was so great. People giving us stages, venues offering us tables. The response that we got from these folks, while welcoming, was also very impassioned. And so we began to record people's thoughts, which is how we got to this point that you're watching today.
Nobody asks the independent artists and the people on the street what they think, and so that's the reason that we decided, you know, nobody else is going to do it. We got to stop talking the talk and walk the walk and get up off our butts and do it ourselves. So that's the reason that we did this, and you know, it's been a lot of sleepless nights over the last month, and a lot of editing, a lot of organizing, a lot of trying to make sure that everybody's voices and everybody's points are heard. And there are so many more people that were involved in this that had something to say for this than we could include on this. I mean, but you only got so much time, and we just wanted to thank everybody. Strength in numbers, we got to stick together. This is just the beginning of something here. We gotta keep it rolling.
Definitely something to build on.
Yep. Peace.
All right, I'm Steve Silk Hurley, music producer, DJ, and as far as the ordinance, it's really pretty crazy that they're trying to bring that back, because if it wasn't for the underground promoters and people doing the raves and things like that, a lot of DJs, like as far as house music DJs, wouldn't have gotten their start. I wouldn't have had a venue to get their name out there. You know, a lot of the ordinance is really not geared towards someone who's up and coming, who's trying to get things going, who's new to the promotion game and all that stuff.
I went down to one of the meetings they had down at City Hall, and it was like maybe about 8 months ago. And you know, it went well. They extended it. We got Alderman Burnett on our side. We got quite a few aldermen on our side, and also Ken Duncan, who's a state representative, I think he was out here today too as well. We need to let more people know that love music and art, and that's fashion and everything else, you know. So what's going to happen? They're going to become more guerrilla. I mean, because guerrilla tactics, that's what I did, you know. I think the guys that come up with some really creative ideas to, you know, guerrilla market, because you got the internet. You know, we don't need big corporations to push us. All we need is the word to get out to the people. You know, that's all we need. I have a good feeling in Chicago about what's going on the underground, and the underground is really where it's at.
The underground is where all culture begins.
You know, and let this culture stay where it is. I never want to put it out and pimp it. You know, I love it with all my heart and passion. I've been doing this for 35 years. 35 years. So here we are, very successful day today. You know, Hyde Park, High Five, Paradise, 2008. Next year, this is my boy Surreal. Thank you, man.
Greg Cobb, music critic with the Chicago Tribune. I've been writing about this potential ordinance for a number of months now. What I basically said in those articles is that this ordinance could be really damaging to Chicago music, and it'll take a big chunk of the business out of the music clubs. It'll also prevent a lot of art and a lot of great music from being presented in Chicago. So it's a really myopic ordinance. I cannot imagine a major metropolitan city, a world-class city of the stature of Chicago, having an ordinance like this in the books. It's frankly embarrassing if this thing gets passed and we have to live under the aegis of this kind of ordinance. So I hope to God this thing doesn't go through.
My name is Sean Campbell. I'm the president and founder of the Chicago Independent Radio Project. And our concern about the Promoters Ordinance is the fact that what we're doing in providing a web-based radio station that focuses on Chicago music, culture, the arts, is that this really has a chilling effect on the types of events that are going on in and around Chicago. Seems like we're probably protected as a non-profit in the way the ordinance is written, but the fact is there are a lot of people who hold benefit shows at a moment's notice, not just for us, but for any cause around the city. Where they would fall is really kind of a question mark, but just even in a broader sense, in general, we love the fact that there are 16-year-olds who want to put on punk rock shows in the basements of VFW halls, and we don't want anything to stand in those kids' way. We love it that a website like Bookslut might want to do a reading where they have 50 or 60 people come out and there's wine and cheese and there are local authors reading from their books and people interacting. And our fear is that these small events that are the most adventurous are the most creative and are really what makes Chicago Chicago, that a lot of those would go away because people can't afford to pay even $500. Even the lowest fee seems really daunting to a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to deal with the paperwork, and instead of doing that, they'll just drift away. They'll do something else with their time. And some people might say, well, then they weren't committed enough. If they aren't willing to do that work, they're not devoted to it enough. But you have to understand that a lot of these people are doing this because of passion. They're doing it in their spare time. They're doing it outside their day job. They're not doing it to make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
My name is James Lauer. I'm a local artist here in Chicago. I've been DJing, producing and promoting nights for many years now, and I love Chicago, and it's getting harder and harder to exist. You know, budgets are already very tight. There's already so many things working against us. You know, we don't necessarily need another ordinance to be lining pockets of our government officials. At the same time, you know, we can barely afford to pull off our own nights and bring in forward-thinking artists and do things that push things forward. It's tough enough without the promoter ordinance, so it's definitely not a good thing, and I hope we prevail. So you have my support. Thanks.
DJ Lee Farmer, been in the business for 27 years now. Industry veteran, DJ, own a production company, been doing a lot of stuff. Fought against the Rave Act, and we lost, and it was detrimental to my business and, you know, and the industry at large. And this Promoter Act, the way it was written, I haven't seen the revisions, but the way it was written before, it's really hurting the independent artist and the boutique promoter, and it's very detrimental to what Chicago was built on and the work ethic and the blue-collar society that we built among the artists here in Chicago. So that's something that we want to fight against, and that's something that I don't support. So kill that, kill it if you can, because I'm working on it. Holla.
So I have this new label called Calamity Jane Recordings, which is a subset of Strictly Rhythm Records. It's a very famous record label based out of New York. They've been around for about 20 years at this point. So it's a great honor to be a part of that. And the whole purpose of our label is to give young artists with no release history a chance to have their music distributed to all of the major networks, to have their songs remixed by top people in the industry to get them the exposure we think they deserve. With this impending law, it frankly worries me, because I know that these kids are out there, they're promoting themselves, their music. This whole scene is populated by people. I think that most of the people don't even do it for the money. The people that are promoting are doing it because of their love of music. And I know that if I had to be subject to those laws, I probably wouldn't be DJing today. I was getting my start when I was probably 18 years old. Those events that formulated my DJ career probably wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't have happened at all. And I don't want to see that become a reality for these young artists that we're trying to bring up in the scene. I just think that would be so unfortunate.
A little loud though, go loud.
All right, I'm Griffin Rodriguez from Icy Demons.
I'm Dave McDonald, I'm in Icy Demons too.
The ordinance that we're talking about is definitely, it seems, it's going to open up a lot of gray areas about jurisdiction, a lot of red tape, it seems like, a lot of liability that people who are putting on small events, jazz, experimental music, will never be able to come up with to put on an event. I think the city thrives on its experimental music scene. There's a large amount of people with a large amount of money who move to the city to be part of this scene, and people move here all the time to do music here, and it's going to jeopardize how that works in Chicago.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's kind of ironic that Daley's trying to push this through in light of all the moves he's made to make Chicago like a nice cultural kind of European capital city. And I think it's ironic because right now in Europe, you know, lots of bands from Chicago, jazz bands, rock bands, go over there, and people are all about, they like the music that's coming out of here, you know, and the reason that music has been able to develop and thrive is because of the small spaces that allow people to play And you know, once you get rid of that, you've lost the niche culture that we have here that's getting to be world renowned.
It's true.
Right on, dude.
Very nice, guys.
The proposed ordinance flat out says that, say if you have a full-time job and just for the love of music, once or twice a year you want to promote an event at one of the licensed clubs in the city. Amazingly enough, they flat out tell you that you have to register with the city.
All it takes is one or two bands to get fined for word to spread pretty damn quickly to the rest of the independent music community to not come to Chicago. And guess what? Gone.
Hi, my name is Brad Miner, longtime independent music producer and promoter here in Chicago. And I guess the only thing I really want to say is that if you truly value creativity and culture in the city, you'll strongly advise against this promoter's ordinance that's trying to go through. Some of us worked for years and years to build up to the point that we've gotten to now. Please don't kill it for us.
Hey, I'm Gary Zabinski. I'm the general manager of a theater in Waukegan, Illinois, the Genesee, 2,400-seat concert venue. I grew up in Chicago. I'm a Chicago boy. I've been going to music and concerts and theater all my life here, and it'd be a shame if the city were to put the kind of undue burden on independent people and small bands, and especially promoters like me, who just want to bring entertainment to the masses. And who's going to pay for it? The consumer's going to pay for it. Ticket prices are just going to get higher, service fees will get higher, and it's not going to prevent those costs from just escalating even more. So I encourage you to fight against this, make your voice known, and let's keep independent music and all promoters, even the commercial ones, from having to pay some sort of fee or penalty or fine just to bring stuff to Chicago. Thanks a lot.
The proposed ordinance contains several provisions that would burden small venues and less known bands disproportionately. It defines the regulated activity under the definition of event promoter to include advertising so broadly that it would include word of mouth generated by a band or its supporters, distribution of flyers or posters publicizing a performance, even free notices of performances on websites such as MySpace music profiles, all the while exempting paid newspaper advertising.
I'm Hank Parrott. I'm a professor of law and former dean of Chicago Kent College of Law, and I also serve as co-chair of a task force of the Chicago Council on Global Affairs that looked at the elements of Chicago's global future and how Chicago can use the assets that it has to become a city that people think of as a global city and where people want to live and where they want to visit. I think that one of the underappreciated assets in Chicago is the indie music community. We have thousands of very talented musicians in Chicago, and not nearly enough people know about those Chicago assets. And the city government is not doing what it should do to make people aware of these music assets in Chicago. Not only that, the City Council recently considered this event promoters ordinance, which is a terrible idea and represents a move in exactly the opposite direction from what the city government should be doing. This event promoters ordinance doesn't meet any public need. It's very, very ill-suited to the realities of Chicago's music community. As written, it's unconstitutional. And as I say, it is the opposite kind of thing from what the city government should be doing. What the city of Chicago should be doing is letting all of Chicago, letting the tourists who come to Chicago, and letting people around the world know that one of the great things about Chicago is that it has tremendous music assets, and that the music assets are not limited to the blues and jazz from decades ago. They're not limited to the Chicago bands like Fall Out Boy who've made it big and show up on the front page of Rolling Stone magazine, but they also include thousands of other musicians who play in small venues and who are not yet known, but who make very good music. What the city should be doing is publishing directories, putting up posters, giving out flyers at the airports, making sure that there are directories in hotel rooms so that when people visit Chicago, they understand that if they want to enjoy good music, they can go to some of these small venues. And if the city won't do it, if the city won't step up to its responsibility to promote these world-class assets in Chicago, then at the very least, individual entrepreneurs and enthusiastic consumers of music ought to remain free under the First Amendment of our United States Constitution to do it themselves. And that's what this ordinance prohibits.
When I travel to DJ, especially out of the country, when I say that I'm from Chicago, it carries so much weight. It's amazing. I mean, there are times where I've gotten booked purely because I'm from Chicago, and people feel like house music is so closely associated with our city that it must be good no matter what, even if they haven't heard me. And you know, just saying that I'm from here gives me a sense of pride when I think about the fact that I associate myself with the type of music that originated about a 15-minute drive from where we are right now.
Hey, Seth Gershberg here. I'm with MF Chicago. We're a artist community here in Chicago. We're made up of musicians, video artists, animators. All right, so the Chicago Promoters Ordinance is really an unfair situation for local independent artists in Chicago. And this is not only for musicians, but it's artists that work with musicians. Myself, I'm a video artist, and we work in conjunction with a lot of musicians. So you can start with music. You can add to that video art, gallery spaces, any sort of theatrical performance, anything that involves with promotion. So for example, if I wanted to do an event and if I want to announce it to my friends and I put it on MySpace, or if I produce some flyers for it, it would make me fall under this jurisdiction. And that sort of situation would make it impossible for people like myself and other people to do events. And we just do it for the love of it. So let us have our time.
I'm Rachel Kane, also known as Screamin' Rachel, and I just did the Chicago New Media Summit, which is now called Chicago Convergence. The whole thing is, with the idea of limiting promoters, you are limiting all media, because everything depends upon the freedom that being in these clubs affords us all to learn about the music, to learn about the culture. So it's very important to keep this freedom alive. There's no way, as a promoter, and I am a promoter myself, that we will be able to afford this insurance and all these things that they're trying to do to be able to have parties. So that will mean effectively there'll be nothing for kids to do, there'll be nothing for people over 21 to do, and there'll be no new arts or media. So it's very important to stop this law because it violates our constitutional rights, and that's what I have to say.
Absolutely beautiful.
Go. My name is Brian Bender. I am the talent buyer at the Elbow Room, located at 2871 North Lincoln Avenue, a block north of Diversity in Chicago. I feel that the Chicago's promoter ordinance is it's going to kill music. It's going to kill local bands putting on showcases, promoters putting on good events, and even small venues to put on shows for local music. So if you have an opportunity, I would vote no for it. Call your alderman, let them know about it. There is a website you can go to, therecordindustry.com. Yeah, just say no. Support your local music.
The ordinance is a bad idea, mainly because it affects DJs, artists, musicians of all lives throughout the city. It's a bad idea because, one, we need to have a place where we can come out and do our thing. If you take that away from us, I mean, come on, man, you're putting a lot of people out of work. I might sound a little crazy right now, but I'm at a great party. It's Westfest. Wonderful, wonderful idea. You know, with this promoters ordinance in place, this type of stuff wouldn't be happening. So keep it going, man. Show up at the next City Hall meeting when this crap is on the table and vote against it. Much love. My name is Biz.
The proposed ordinance is unconstitutional. It violates the First Amendment by regulating speech in the form of advertising over broadly. It violates due process by excluding ex-felons who have paid their debt to society and persons convicted of petty theft. Federal court cases require a rational relationship between regulation of entertainment and risks to public health and safety. There is no such relationship here.
The First Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees all of us freedom of expression. And of course, the government is entitled, at all levels, municipal, state, and federal, the government is entitled to regulate speech so that it doesn't create a public safety or security problem. But the Supreme Court of the United States and the federal courts and state courts have been very vigilant over the years, appropriately so, to make sure that when the government does regulate speech, that it does so in a narrowly tailored manner that is focused on an identifiable problem, an identifiable threat to the public interest. This ordinance doesn't do that. As I said, it sweeps far too broadly. It encompasses web-based activity, including what you might put on a MySpace page. It encompasses kids who are trying to help their friends by giving out some flyers or even just fueling word of mouth about their performances and about the excellence of their music. And in addition to that, because it excludes people with criminal records, it has a disproportionate effect on people in the African American community, because one of the sad facts of American life is that far too many young black kids from the inner cities end up with criminal records. And this ordinance would tend to exclude them, and that disproportionate exclusion of people from the African American community raises an independent constitutional problem in violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment.
Chicago Promoters Ordinance, if you guys don't know what that is, that's Mayor Daley trying to stop us indie artists from doing our thing. You know, we've already paid our debts to society. Why in the hell is we constantly have to pay it every time we do something positive? It makes you want to do something negative. My name is Eli.
Eli, right on.
Most definitely. Chicago artist, man, indie.
This ordinance sucks and it's completely freaking unfair. Kill it.
The proposed ordinance does not strengthen the city's inspection and enforcement resources, powers, and will to act. Instead, it indemnifies the city from liability.
There's no other explanation for it, because it's not going to do a thing for culture, it's not going to help the local economy. It's especially not going to help the local economy, because not only does this apply to local promoters right here in the city, this applies to any promoter from any city outside of Chicago that wants to come here and put on an event. If anything is going to hurt the culture or the economy in the city, it's short-sighted laws like this.
Right now, we want to keep all independent music independent because the music industry sucks today. All right, and all of the true talent is already independent. So we're gonna shut you down, Mayor Daley. Bottom line. Bottom line. This is the formula right here. We go by the format and the formula. This is our group. We represent Pitch Black Creation.
He's the formula.
That's right. We want to support my boy JaGoFF right now because JaGoFF is doing his thing to keep us independent. You know what I'm saying?
We co-sign what he said. Peace and love.
We appreciate that. PPC, baby.
My name is Hannah Rosner. I ran a venue called the Guest House, and my best friend, also my drummer, ran the Shit Space. We're an independent venue that had shows with 50 kids maximum, and we think the Chicago Promoters Ordinance is bullshit. I'm allowed to say that. They just want to shut down independent music promoters. We don't even make any money off the tour. We give it all to the bands. So it sucks, and hopefully you guys will do something about it, and we won't have this ordinance as a problem anymore.
Say whatever you want to say, honey.
I've been in the music industry in many different ways, I don't know, like 20 years. And I think what the city of Chicago is trying to do with this promoters ordinance is total bull ass.
That's wrong.
It's total BS. It's so wrong. It's going to kill the music scene, whether it's the venues or the independent promoters, all of the bands who are trying to make a living. Please, please, nix the promoters ordinance.
The proposed ordinance does not fit the realities of how some of Chicago's best music is made and promoted. The 2007 Chicago Music City Report, prepared by a group at the University of Chicago, concluded that music in the city generates a payroll in excess of $1 billion annually and fuels the overall economy. Significantly, it concluded that Chicago offers more kinds of music regularly than anywhere else except LA and New York, mostly in small clubs.
Say what you think about the ordinance and how it affects you. Go ahead.
Hey, my name is David Paggio. I come from London, England. I came down to Chicago to some good music, to some very, very, very good house music, and maybe a bit of hip hop. I'm coming down the street here, and all of a sudden I see this little block party music festival going on, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, Chicago Promoters Ordinance kills indie music. I was like, I mean, I love indie music, I love house music, and then I finally understood the cause that you guys are doing here. And I promise you, you guys need to promote that worldwide, man. You guys are one of the founding places for house music, for all this kind of music.
Kind of propaganda
and you know what? I support your cause 100%, man. Rock on. I hope you guys get through, and peace to Chicago.
Right on.
Most of the small clubs are operated informally and present bands and other performers that operate on a financial shoestring, rarely earning more than a few $100s for a performance and rarely netting more than a few $1,000s per year for their music. These bands and performers and the venues in which they perform scramble to attract an audience, relying on the band's circle of friends and an occasional part-time amateur street team to distribute flyers and generate word of mouth.
The way that the music business is structured right now is that the vast majority of bands are independent, meaning they don't have major labels. They have to employ alternative methods to get the word out, meaning they have their own record labels by necessity. They have their own promotion companies by necessity. These promotion and record label companies don't make any more than the bands do. It's just a facade a la P.T. Barnum to make something more fantastic than it is and more desirable than it is. Obviously, it's way more appealing if I say Big Time Show Extravaganza presents JaGoFF as opposed to, hey, come check out my band.
My name is Maker, and I'm a DJ producer. You know, everybody's on tour, everybody's promoting their music, and the way it is right now, but nobody's buying CDs, everybody's downloading music. One of the main things to promote an album is to get on the road and hustle and get yourself out there, play festivals, tour the U.S., and you know, what's going to happen if the ordinance passes? You know, nobody's going to be able to do that unless you're going through one of the big companies. You know, it's just going to stop the artistic side and, you know, the hustling side of the music that has become what it has become today, you know?
If anything, it would really push underground events even more than they are being pushed now. I hate to liken it to prohibition, but if it were illegal to promote events without a license, you bet your ass there would be people out in the streets pushing underground parties at lofts at after hours all around Chicago. And people would love to go to it because they wouldn't be allowed to.
Very nice.
State your name, what it is you guys do, what you think about the promoter's ordinance and how it affects you.
I'm JoJo Baby, and this is Sally. And
I'm Sal E.
And we're promoters for Green Dolphin Street.
Yes.
And I think that if this ordinance goes through, it'll be like the old days where kids will break into spots just to have a party, to like...
Remember the raves?
Just
Remember the
have a
secret
party.
parties that you had to have a secret password for? They're going to be back if that happens.
Hello, raves will come back.
People will find a way to have fun. With or without your permission.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
I'm Screaming Rachel, and that's why! And this is my crew. Here is my posse to take over the tower. We're coming to get you. Beware.
Coming to a club near you.
Frankly, people need their music, and they need to be paid for it. Obviously, the recession's kind of fucking up money right now, but I think we still need to make a little room for people that want to play music to actually get paid. Just a decent amount just to have a place to stay and some food to eat that night. That's not too much to ask. This is Earthorn, signing out.
Word. It shouldn't even be a question.
Yeah, man, I just think it's bullshit how that's going on, you know? I mean, indie music is important, all music is important, and all music should be able to be promoted and played.
That's right.
What he said.
Yeah, the ordinance would punish small music promoters for doing what they do to get bands to become 9 Inch Nails or Kanye. He didn't start out as freaking Kanye. He was like some guy at a small band, at a small venue. They would never be able to make it. It would kill. I live in Uptown. It would kill Uptown. The Aragon and the Riv would die.
Unless Chicago remains friendly to indie music and promoters can afford to put their bands and let Chicago audiences discover them like we have been for decades, unless they keep it affordable and kill bullshit like this. Get that. God bless America.
Major League, Chi-Town, West Side. I feel like the promotion thing is a big scam. It shouldn't go down. Us artists, we are not paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be promoted. Be fair. You know, there's so much going on in the city. You know, us artists, we need any avenue we can use to explore. So that's that. Chi-Town, Major League, much love.
It imposes unnecessary insurance requirements on promoters who have no control over safety in venues and thus are unlikely to be liable for injuries.
My name is Biz. I'm from Stick and Move. We're a promotion company out here in Chicago. We did Soulja Boy, Fat Joe, do a lot of big things. Here's the problem. As a promoter, giving some advice to you guys out there, the insurance companies are murdering promoters, and I'm going to tell you how. You're placed in a category when you acquire artists. So, for example, if I got Soulja Boy, right, as a promoter, I'm paying the same price for Soulja Boy as I would 50 Cent. So that means they put you in the same category as a rap artist, which is, they say, they do the research on you, they do everything, and they market a price. So, and not only that, when you go through, not only that, when you actually go and acquire the insurance, if you went to one or two or three other insurance companies before, you're locked in a database to where they pick you up and pick your name, and you're labeled. So that price that the last insurance company gave you, even if they turned you down, they're giving you a high price. So that means a Billy Idol can come to Chicago, and his insurance might be $800 to $1,500. Whereas Soulja Boy come to do a show, his fucking insurance will be $3,000 to $4,000. How the fuck? What the fuck is the fairness, man? That's all I want to know. That's it.
The implications of the law as originally presented would make it incredibly difficult for any young entrepreneur, any young responsible promoter to put on a show. The fact of self-insuring any concert has become increasingly difficult since way before what happened in Rhode Island and E2. It costs big bucks to have enough money to insure. And yet this would add another layer of bureaucracy on top of that. You'd have to get a license on top of that. You'd have to get, even if you were working at a sanctioned club, a club that has no liquor violations, no safety violations, an excellent reputation, no problems with its neighbors, and it's completely up to fire code. If you're an outside independent promoter and you want to come to and use one of these clubs, which is a smart move, a lot safer than somebody's basement, you would have to get one of these licenses, which could cost you several $1,000s, and brands you as almost as the enemy. You're asking to get a license for something that you don't need a license for. The club has every license you can imagine, and they're all inspected regularly. If they don't have a panic bar on the door, if they don't have the wiring up to fire code, they're shut down. One liquor violation, wrath of God. And that's as it should be. I spend a lot of time in rock clubs as a musician and as a critic. And I don't want to be unsafe, okay? I don't want to be in a situation like E2. But I trust that those laws that are on the books will be enforced. I don't need another layer. You know, if I want to hold a benefit or beautify the parks, I'd have to get one of these licenses. And it seems wrong. I mean, if I'm using an established venue, it just seems wrong. And yet the city won't recognize that. They're going after a particular problem that is already legislated against. And the only reason I think they're doing it is to look like they're doing something. Instead of enforcing laws that are on the book, when I posed the question point blank to the Department of Business Affairs, who will enforce this new law, they cannot answer it. So you're going to pass a law that no one can enforce. Brilliant.
It prohibits fans under the age of 21 from engaging in promotion activities, although younger fans often play a crucial role in encouraging turnout for performances.
If you're 19 and you have some friends that are in a band and you want to promote them in 18 and over venue, do that. Doesn't matter what you want to do, it's a lost cause. If you promote your friends and you get caught and you're under 21, $10,000 fine.
And there are a lot of people who are 17 or 18 years old, or even younger, who are very energetic in trying to promote good music made by their friends. Not only that, the way the ordinance is written, it would make any of us who want to put something up on a MySpace page or create a website to promote our or somebody else's music, it would make us criminals unless we get a license, unless we get fingerprinted, unless we pay $1,500 or more for insurance. That is absolutely ridiculous. It's a poor example of drafting a law that should be limited to some sort of public need.
The people who I know who are small independent promoters are lucky if they make their money back from an event. And you know, they're just going to go and do something else if they have to pay these fees because it just won't be financially feasible for them. So we just want to make sure that Chicago's music and arts communities stay vibrant, stay diverse. We want everybody to be a part of it. And if you want to throw an event, if you have a great idea for a show and nobody else is putting on that show anywhere else and you want to do it, you should be able to step up and do that. If you want to take the initiative, it doesn't make any sense for anything to stand in your way.
Hi, I'm a resident of the area that Schulter is the alderman for. My opinion is that I think people should be able to promote live music, concerts, the ability for people to gather and enjoy and have entertainment without having undue, unfair economic burden. It's unfair for people who are trying to make a living to make sure other people have a good time and contribute to the economy of Chicago to have undue personal expense. It's unfair. I believe that it creates a class of people who can only provide these opportunities if they work for a corporation. Otherwise, they would not be able, individuals and other small businesses are unable to thrive. And so in that regard, it creates a corporatization or a very, very elite group of people who can create entertainment for the majority of Chicago.
This is Mark with Soundtrack to Violence, a truly independent Chicago rock band, metal band, depending on your perspective. The point is that independent music is the lifeblood of Chicago, it's the lifeblood of America. American hardcore is one of the most important genres of music that was completely independent, completely booked by the musician, for the fans, by the fans. Everybody was in together. Music is not politics. It can be used to bring forth politics. When politics and music work together, then we can stop the tyranny of gigantic corporations being the only ones allowing their music to be played. We want the voice of the people, we need the music of the people, we need new noise, the new generation musician and the fan need to stand up together and stop this from happening. We need independent music. It represents the people. It is the only true form of art that the people can say they can turn around and create next week. Preserve that best you can.
This is Jeremy Fry from Audiovan. This whole thing with the Chicago's Promoters Ordinance is a bunch of shit. Us guys who play live music rely on the ability to play at venues the way we should. If you got some more money trying to come to the table, it's a bunch of shit. So please, 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 let the word be known. Spread the word to everybody you can. Help promote local music.
It would intimidate fans and band members from promoting a performance by requiring them to be fingerprinted and to fill out burdensome forms and keep burdensome records. Paradoxically, it would regulate promoters for events at small venues while leaving intact the existing exemption for the venues themselves.
And this ordinance is backwards in the sense that it sweeps into its coverage the people at the grassroots level, whether the art galleries or the high school kids in this building behind us. And it excludes the largest promoters. So instead of most laws at the federal and state and local levels that might have a burdensome impact on businesses and activities of various types, most of them have a small business exclusion. This one covers all the small businesses and has a big business exclusion. It's completely bonkers.
The ordinance is just completely ridiculous. It was set up in the idea that every band or every venue has $1 million to spend on every single show. Most local promoters have about $50 to spend on a show. They're not making money. The bands are hardly making any money until they get to the point that they can play Lollapalooza. And therefore the ordinance is just going to kill all of music in Chicago except for the gigantic shows.
And what do you do?
I do booking for Logan Square Auditorium and I'm on Rebel Radio.
Right the f*** on, dude.
This is the stupidest law known to mankind.
There's no more cheap-ass shows you go on Sunday for no reason.
Exactly. Who the hell is going to pay like $180 to see some like band that you don't even want to see, but you do it just to have fun? Don't pass this law. I'll come after you.
My name is Matt Newton. I'm in sketch comedy and improv, and this would affect us because same sort of thing with indie music. Shut down small productions. We put on productions all the time, and it would affect us. Chicago's like the best sketch and improv, arguably in the world. So you don't want to shut this down here. It's going to affect a lot of people and a lot of great artists.
It's all one thing. You know, I mean, you go to Columbia College and you have art students and design students and interior design students and theater students and photography students and filmmakers. And it's all the same. It's all the same. There's no difference. You can't just indiscriminately pick one out and say this is wrong. This is the bad apple. You know, you can't do that.
It's just the city trying to tax something else, trying to get money out of something. It doesn't benefit the bands, it doesn't benefit the fans, it benefits like lawmakers that you don't know anything about, and one reason why you should get active is because it's bullshit! It's all bullshit, you know? And come on, let's fucking stand for something. You don't stand for shit except standing around in concerts. Do something. There you go.
Subcultures are so integral to the way communities grow. Absolutely. When I look at all of the fees and the taxes and, you know, the $10,000 fine this and $500 fine that, I'm like, oh my God, this really just boils down to the city wants to tax the money that they feel like they're missing out on. And, you know, some of us actually do pay our taxes.
My name is Rico. I just graduated with a bachelor's in music. I work as a musician and I also book. What this whole ordinance is doing is totally screwing us out of the industry. As is, we don't book to make money. We book to get those bands out there. We book to give them a name for themselves and help them out. What this new ordinance is basically going to do is so screw our ability to help those bands out and get them up there. Payola has already screwed us over once. Payola has already screwed us over once. We don't need another thing in our way.
Alright, hey, how you doing? My name is Michael Berg. We're living here in a hotbed of culture here in the city of Chicago, and all it's going to do is stifle that, and it's just going to take one city to catch on, and all the other cities are going to start following it.
If it passes here, it's going to pass everywhere else. And sooner or later, you ain't going to be able to play anywhere, you know? There are no promoters going to, you know, go out and get all the insurance and then be paying for all the licenses and stuff, and it's just going to be a dead America. No music, no art. You know, what are you gonna do? More shootings, more deaths in Chicago and everywhere else. You know, people are gonna have nothing else to do.
One of our greatest fears about this ordinance is that it will go national, much like the Rave Act went national.
We start to think, you know what, there's no way that one vote could change the world. There's no way that one person could make a difference. But at the end of the day, it is that one person. It's that one person times 10 million, or times 20 million, or times 100 million. That's how things get done. So Chicago has a great history of being politically active, of being socially conscious, of being intelligent, and being very, very forthright whenever it comes to taking care of their business. So I don't want to see us fall apart at this point. We've got to make sure that we understand the ordinances and the legislation that is being passed that are going to affect us. And we've got to understand how our voice can be heard. We've got to do something about it, whether it's in favor or not. Saying something is better than being silent. A silent community is a dead community, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah, we were just speaking about the Chicago Promoters Ordinance, and it was amazing to me the quick response of the musicians in the community. I don't think I knew anybody that wasn't planning on heading down to the meeting. We had all, you know, organized, you know, where we were going to meet, and, you know, pretty much dropped everything we were doing to make sure we were at that meeting. So it was nice to know that the response was underestimated, and I predict a similar response in the future, and I hope that the resistance continues, because it needs to happen.
You want to just play out?
Sure.
I think we're a self-regulated enough community, and we don't need the city to come in and to treat us like criminals in order for us to promote the music that we're all in love with.
Well, this is an opportunity for Chicago's grassroots indie music community, because not only is it a situation, is it a threat that should energize the indie musicians in Chicago to demonstrate against this ordinance and to let their representatives know what a bad idea it is. But over the longer run, this should be a wake-up call for people in the grassroots and the indie music community to recognize that the major responsibility to let the rest of Chicago and the rest of the world know about what they're doing lies in their hands and through their mouths to do a much more active job of letting people know what they're doing and where they're doing it.
My final thought, and the last thing that I want you guys to hear that you're seeing this right now, is power by numbers. Spread this around the internet, make it viral, and that's the only way to let the word out, to let it be known. And I know that you can help us by doing this. So send the link around, send out some emails, post a video on your MySpace page, put a link on your Facebook, whatever you want to do, put it on your blog, send it to your mom and dad, your best buddy, your college friend, whoever. Just please help us spread the word. It's only going to help culture.
Right the mother.
And the last thing I want to say is that, you know, so goes one group of artists, so goes all of us. I mean, eventually they're going to come knocking on your door too for a piece of the cash. So I think that you need to stand up, strengthen numbers. People need to get together and stop being so complacent or apathetic or whatever it is. I know it's difficult holding down a full-time job and doing your trade and being an artist and trying to indulge in that passion that makes life worth living. But you also need to be political about it, especially when the city is trying to come in here and doing these ill-fated, short-sighted ordinances that and laws that are going to affect us in such an adverse way.
I teach interactive advertising, which deals with DIY, just do it yourself, guerrilla advertising, viral, social networking, search engine optimization, tactics you can take to the streets, what you're looking at right now. It's all about empowering you with tools that you can use now. One of the things that we're afraid of about this ordinance is that it can take those tools away.
I think they're coming to get you, man. We gotta go.
Somebody say gorilla?
Seriously. We gotta go. They're coming for us.
I guess you've gotten more than you bargained for this evening, huh?
You have reached the number you've dialed. For your safety, this call has been promptly reported to the National Security Agency. Thank you, and have a great day. What you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
Do that again.
That's like sideways.